Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. It is day 3 of the 12 days of quilting. So what are we doing today? Today is ruler work. These are the motifs that we're going to be I'm going to be sharing with you using a straight ruler. I'll throw a picture of that up here somewhere so you know where we're going. There's a couple of things I wanted to give to you that weren't just one motif with a straight ruler. I wanted to give a little bit more inspiration for you in case you do have a straight ruler. Now, speaking of that, what kind of supplies are we going to need for this? Of course, you'll need your sandwich. Of course, you'll need your sewing machine. You're going to need a ruler foot. So I have mine loaded at this time. It's real important that you do use a ruler foot. I have done some ruler work with my walking foot because it has like this, it doesn't come up enough and it has a little bump. Probably wasn't the best idea. However, I did do it, just so you know. But it's always best to use a ruler foot when you're using a ruler. Now I will say, let me just continue with the supplies that you'll need. I am again using throughout this whole thing these Chrome Pro Schmetz quilting needles, 9014. Absolutely love them. You can find those in our shop. You will need, well, it works better. You won't need them, but it works better if you use quilting gloves. Help you get the best experience while you're quilting. And these are also available on our website. I think they're called, I always say this wrong. It's like the word machine and fingers blended together. I can't say it. Machingers, maybe? They're on our website. Different sizes. I have 3 different sizes available for you. I am using Aurifil thread once again, as usual. I love my Aurifil thread, 50 weight. I use it to piece, I use it to quilt, I use it for everything. Love the Aurifil 50 weight. I do have a sew slip mat to help make this a slippy surface so I glide really easily. And then I am using the slimline, or no, the slim low shank ruler that was designed by Angela Walters, and Creative Grids has manufactured them. So all the great things that you get from Creative Grids with the non-slick side, all the great lines, both black and white, so depending on what kind of fabric you're using, you can see them still. And of course, this is Angela Walters, her own design, and I love this ruler because it's the size. Not just that it's available as a low shank, she also sells them in a high shank or a long arm, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But because it's small, it does fit inside, for the most part, of my throat space down here in the machine. So if you get a really big ruler, sometimes it's really hard to maneuver inside that small throat space when you're doing on a domestic machine. So those are the types of things that you're going to need. When I dump in here, I want to say the first thing I'm going to talk about are the different types of rulers. Now, I do not carry the long arm or high shank yet of Slim or any of Angela Walters' design for Creative Grid. I don't have any of them yet. I don't have any long arm or high shank yet. I only have on our website the low shank, but there are high shank or long arm machine. So I'm going to attempt. They're see-through, so it's really hard, but I'm going to attempt to show you the difference. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to determine what you have, whether you have a high shank machine on your domestic or a low shank machine. Now the shank is basically the main bar that comes down that your presser foot attaches to, but there's a high shank and a low shank. So it's really important that you understand the difference and figure out what machine you have to get the right ruler so that you have a very safe and pleasant experience when you're quilting. So that's the first part. The other thing I'm going to show you when we come in, I will show you my particular ruler foot, which I'm going to be honest with you, I bought the same exact machine when the lightning struck. My husband was so awesome. He was willing to give me a higher grade machine. However, I just didn't have the bandwidth in my head to be able to deal with too much new, and it's still different. So I'm noticing that my ruler foot sits different, so I may end up purchasing another one, but it's still working. And I'm going to show you how I determine spacing and make sure that the tension isn't affected by spacing, and what that ruler foot looks like. Now, there are a million jillion different ruler foots, and if you have one specific for your machine, that's the one that you're going to want to have. And the other thing I wanted to add, if you are doing ruler work and you go and you do some sort of motif with your ruler and then you decide to do some free motion, you don't have to switch feet. You can free motion with a ruler foot, okay? It's a little, the one I have has a little divot in the front, so it helps me to see, but sometimes people can't see real well with their ruler feet, but you don't have to switch feet, okay? So if you're thinking about doing ruler work and free motion, some people just use the one foot and they can go back and forth in the same quilt without changing feet. Super bonus, right? So the first thing, we're going to talk about the rulers. Second thing, we're going to talk about the ruler foot. And then we're going to jump right in and get started on some designs that you can utilize with your ruler foot and with Slim by Angela Walters for Creative Grids. So I'll see you guys in just a sec. So like I said, you do have two different types of quilting rulers. You've got your long arm rulers, which are much thicker, and you have your domestic, which are much thinner. And I'm thinking that might be helpful if you see that, how much of a difference, or maybe we can do it like so. You can actually see how much of a difference there really is. Maybe if I did it this way too. It's hard to do something see-through, right? So this though was your long arm. This is your domestic. This is, and I shouldn't just call it a domestic because some domestics use a high shank, and this one works for a high shank and your long arm, and these ones work on your domestic with your low shank. So the way to find out what you have, or one way, now I do not have a high shank machine, I have a low shank machine, and the way that you do this, I simply made a little card with a 1/2 inch. I took off my presser foot so you can see the hole back here, okay? And I have the presser foot lowered. When you do that, and you line up your card, if your hole is at a 1/2 inch, that means that you have a low shank machine. An inch is a high shank machine. That's with the presser foot down, okay? So that is one way. Of course, your manual should tell you if you're looking to buy a new foot, you need to know whether or not you have a high shank or a low shank. So it's important to know it. Best place again is your manual or your manufacturer. They should be able to tell you if it's a low shank or a high shank. But this is a quick test, and it's important to know which one so that you get the best experience out of your quilting and the most safest experience. So let's go ahead and do some quilting. So the first thing I want to talk about is my ruler foot. Now we all have different machines. We all have different ruler feet. Some of you have machines where you can increase or decrease the height of your presser foot. I don't have one of those. And I also did not have a ruler foot that came with my machine, which this is what I ended up buying. And if you look, the screw goes through here, so I have to take the screw all the way off, but it'll go through that slit, and that means I can I can raise it and lower it, right? So I'm going to pull my screw all the way out here. Now, depending on how long it takes me to get this screwed in, I might cut the video here because you don't need me to watch this being screwed in, but I do want to show you how I start picking my height, and it works really well. I do the same thing on my long arm when I'm adjusting the foot height compared to how thick the quilt might be. So I'm just going to simply get it on there. Now I do have my presser foot up all the way at this time, okay? And typically I have a certain credit card or debit card that I use. However, I don't want y'all to see the numbers, right? So what I do here is I first put my quilt underneath. I do have it loaded. Now I haven't tightened it yet, and there's a reason for that. And I go ahead and lower my presser foot. Okay, this is all the way down. Now it's too low, and if it's way too low, you're not going to move your fabric, right? So how high do you want it to go? Well, this is what I do. I'm going to loosen this screw. There we go. And now I can adjust the height of this. And what I like to do, I've got a pretty thick batting underneath here, but I like to be able to put my credit card underneath here. Now, like I said, I'm not going to show you my credit card. This is about the same thickness. And then at that point, I go ahead and tighten the screw, get it nice and tight. And to be honest, because of the thickness of this batting, it's all the way up, I think. Let me look. Yep, it's all the way up. But that's how I know. So you can, I don't know if you can see, but there is a slight gap, and that allows me to really smooth it. Now, if it's too high, if you have a presser foot that can go higher than this, if it's too high, your tension's going to be off. If it's too low, you won't be able to move your fabric. So there's a real happy medium with that presser foot, just to get the right tension and to get where you can move your fabric underneath. So I wanted to show you that first, okay? I'm going to go ahead. I just realized I do not have my needle threaded. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going, and then we're going to do some ruler work, and we're going to use the straight line ruler, okay? So I will see you guys in just a sec. So I am using, again, for the 18th million time, I'm sure, Angela Walters Slim Low Shank. And what's nice about this, and a lot of rulers will have markings for you, the shaded area is 1/4 inch all the way around, and you have these hash marks right here, they're 1/2 inches, and so that black one in between, or this somewhere in the middle of them, is going to be your 1/4 inch, and you'll see here in just a second how that's beneficial. And it does have the non-skid back, so it does, when you give it a little push on it, just like all the other Creative Grid rulers, it doesn't slide. Very nice, very nice. So straight lines, yes. So what can be beneficial is if you're going to stitch in the ditch. Now what I've done is I've marked some lines like they were squares or parts of a quilt, just so I can demonstrate for you. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, I have my presser foot lowered. I'm going to go ahead and lower the needle and bring up the bobbin thread. Give it a little tug here. Whoop, now I just moved it, so that'll be fun. Grab that bobbin thread. I'm going to lower the presser foot again. And go ahead and, using my hand wheel, I'm going back into the same hole. Now I'm pretending this white line right here is my seam on a patch. Okay, and going from the center of your needle to the outside of your ruler foot is about 1/4 inch. So that's always helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and do a straight line right down, hopefully, that line. And if you had other lines that were perpendicular, normally in you know, not drawn, but normally they're, you know, pretty straight, you can use the markings along the ruler to make sure that everything is square. And when you push down, if you push too hard, you're not going to be able to move your fabric, right? So you just want to give it enough of a push to make sure that it doesn't move. It's up against my ruler, and I'm just simply going to push the fabric. And I noticed I'm not quite straight, but that's okay. We're just demonstrating here. And that would allow me to do a very clean stitch in the ditch, okay? Now I want to go over, I'm going to go 1/2 inch. So I'm going to line up my needle on one of these hash marks. I'm going to hold on to my fabric, and I'm just going to simply go over to the next line. And I'm going to use the previously stitched line as a guide. Okay. And I'm just going to go right on up. And I notice I'm not quite straight. And that's okay. And I'm going to stop right at my needle inside the next seam. And you can see where I adjusted. Because this isn't the perfect situation, but it's a good practice. Then you're just going to, I lined up again on a hash mark. I'm going to go to the next hash mark, which would be in, I would be stitching in my seam. And again, I'm going to line up. Now remember, I'm 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch apart from the line I sewed, and then another 1/4 inch from the ruler foot into the needle. So I'm going down 1/2 inch, but it allows me to use the line I stitched as a guide to make sure I am nice and straight. And what's really cool, if you wanted to do skinnier lines, you most certainly could. You just go a little towards the middle. Lining up on a stitch line. I think we're good. It's hard for me to see. And we just simply go back up to the top. So you can make these as close and as far apart as you want. I'm going to go across again here. It's not as easy to go across without a ruler because, you know, you got to keep it straight, right? Believe it or not, these rulers are amazing. Now I'm just going to come down a little bit, and I'm just going to pretend like I'm doing an echo. So you can echo, and actually I'm going to go back here so I can see a little bit. And I'm just looking at the line that I drew and how my ruler is coming along with it. And I'm holding that ruler down, and I hold the presser foot against the ruler at the same time. It's kind of an adjustment, but it works really well. And I stopped about my ruler foot width, right? Because that's 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to simply, it looks like I need to fix my tension. I tried to do it earlier, but here we go. Just want to make sure you don't hit your fingers. Okay. I could go a little bit further. Whoop, I moved it. That's okay. And go across. And you can you can see how easy it makes these straight lines. And if your block's not too big, you can actually go all the way across from one corner to the next. You just want to make sure that you are lining up about 1/4 inch away. There we go. You can draw a nice diagonal. Super cute, right? All right, So you've got echoing, you've gotten stitching in the ditch. You can also draw some inside. I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to line it up here. Whoop. Got some craziness. Okay. I'm going to make a triangle here, I hope. Now, what would be really good is if I would measure. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm lining up on the seam, and I'm going to look to see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hashes. So that would be what? Half of would be 3 and 3, 7, 4 and 4. So we're going to go in 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I'm going to go across. I just want to make sure I'm somewhat straight. Hopefully I stay straight here. And I'm going to go across. That's 3, 4, 5. That don't look centered to me. See, 1, 2, 3. Oh, because it's not, because it's only 4. So we're going to go across one more. All right, that looks better. Don't know how perfect it is, but I'm going to draw down to the other side. Now it's beneficial if you use your one hand instead of like I'm doing holding it twice. I'm going to go across. Makes it a little hard, so I'm gonna, well, we're gonna come out a little bit. You just have to think about stuff just a little. I'm gonna come up this line here. I'm trying to do it where y'all can see and my hands don't get in the way too much. I'm going to try and, I don't know if I'm on the line or not. I'm just barely on it, barely not, but that's okay. We're just going to go across here. I'm going to go down the other side. I have a hard time seeing that way, so I'm going to go down this side. Whoop, I came off of the ruler. Did y'all see that? Okay, so that might have a jiggy-jaggy. Oh, it's not bad. Okay, so then I'm going to come in, probably a mark. And I'm going to go up again. Stopping about where the point is. I can't tell if I'm perfect through a camera like this, but then I'm going to go down the other side. Okay. The beautiful thing about this is that because it's a low shank ruler, you can go every direction that you need to. I don't think I like that one, but that looks about right. Okay, come down the other side. And if you really want to get best angle here, you're going to want to line it up on this side when you come down, using your markings as a guide. And you could go in again, you could keep going. Then to get to the outside, you're going to stitch across your ditch. Of course, I'm not quite on the ditch, but you'll get the point. I'm going to go up a little. Okay. And then I'm going to go across again, using those lines as a grid mark. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just doing echoes inside or outside of that triangle. I think you might be able to see this really nice. I'm using that line that I already stitched as a marking to know, and I'll go down to the outside again to the seam line. And you could just simply keep going. You go up another one, hit that one, come across, go down. You can do another one inside of here. It's as long as you're using your marking so that you can tell where you're going, you can really create some wonderful things, and your imagination is totally beneficial in creating straight line grids or straight lines. Matter of fact, speaking of, I'm going to raise my needle. I'm going to go across here. One of the really cool things, if your block is small, I'm going to lower it down here in this corner. You can very quickly, there we go, do a grid. Now you can't see this, but I'm doing a diagonal straight across my block. So I'm going to go down the middle and a diagonal first. I'm hoping that lands in the corner. It's always fun to do this in a camera. Now, we're going to go across just, well, we don't want to take forever, do we? So I'm going to go across, I'm trying to decide here. We'll go, we'll go all the way out here. And then we'll go down again using those marks that we sewn with as a reference point. Okay, we'll go up. What did we do? We did one full mark, right? I'm going to go the other side because I think I can see it better. Oh, I went too far, did I? Nope. Okay. And I'm using those lines again. Go across. Alright, and we'll go across again. Did I really go that far? Let's see. Oh, I went. How many did I go, guys? 2. Okay. So I'm just going to go over 2 more. Come down again, using that line. All right. Now this time I'm going to go ahead and go all the way back down. Okay. I'm going to go across to there. This line isn't straight that I drew, but you know. I can't see on that side. So what would really work well when you do this is if you could turn your quilt so that you can see. This one's small, and as we're practicing, you can do whatever you need to get comfortable. Okay. Go down again. Line everything up. I feel like that's not right. 1, 2, but it is. Okay. We're getting down to the edge of my quilt. It's always more difficult to quilt along the edge. Go across again. We went 2. I'm going to do 1 more. Okay, now this time I'm going to go to the corner. Okay. And I'm going to go corner to corner. Remember, on the far side, you've got to leave yourself a 1/4 inch mark, okay? A 1/4 inch away, because your ruler, your needle is not going to hit. Hold on, I'm not flat. It's not going to hit on the direct place. If you put your ruler exactly on that corner, you're not going to hit it, because you need a 1/4 inch gap from your needle to the edge of your ruler foot. I'm hoping I'm going to hit it here, guys. Yeah, it's pretty close. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. I got a little crazy. And you're going to do the same thing going the other direction. I'm going to come in just a bit. I think that it's pretty darn close, so I'm going to go over 2. And I'm going to go down again. Now again, it's more beneficial if you can use the line that you sewed to give yourself a nice reference if you're going to be straight or not. I think I went 2, but now I'm starting to look at it, and now it looks a little, funny to me. It's about 2. We're going to go ahead and run with it. There, it's better. Okay. No, it's not quite straight, is it? Here we go. Okay, here we are. We're going to go again. And you can make your grids bigger, smaller, fatter, skinnier, all of the above. But you can start to see, if I come out again, and I come out again, and I do the other side, you're going to start to see that you can get a very, very nice crosshatch. Very nice crosshatch. Because your lines are going to be more straight than normal. They should be more equal. It works really well inside small spaces or inside of a block. You can use this as a great filler to give some accent to exactly what you're doing. So there's some ideas to do with straight lines. I'll be back at you in just a sec. So there you have it. Straight lines with Slim. And I got to tell you, this is one of those rulers, because you can do it in Stitch in a Ditch, and you can echo with it and do some really straight line kind of things within smaller spaces. This is, for me, is an absolute necessity to have in your stash of motifs that you like to do, or your stash of rulers if you are ever going to do some ruler work. I cannot live without my slim or any straight ruler. It doesn't matter if it's slim or not. It's just a straight ruler and a ruler foot for your domestic opens so many doors, and you really do get used to it. You really do get comfortable with it. You can do these with the long arm ruler. The only thing is, it's I will share another little secret with you. Okay, so when you use rulers on a long arm, you want to make sure that you have a ruler base. Now, I'll show that in a future video. I'm working out how to do some videos with some long arming. This will be included with some straight lines and some ruler work, because I love ruler work, especially while quilting, right? So I will say I didn't have a ruler base for a long time, and I used on your long arm, you have that middle piece of metal for your base. I made sure that it stayed on there, because as soon as you leave that area, if you push down on your quilt and there's nothing underneath, you can totally create havoc. And the important part is that you're not slipping underneath your ruler foot and allowing the ruler foot to clamp down, or your needle, which would be even worse, to clamp down on your ruler and snap and break. So I have done it. I ain't gonna lie, y'all, but I don't recommend it. It's not safe. It's not good. It's not good quilting, and you'll be frustrated. So at any rate, that is a few ideas with straight ruler. I will do some more in the future. I have other motifs that I like to do. And this, it's always good to have something that works in if you're gonna buy something, this doesn't just do straight lines. It doesn't just work as a straight ruler. It has a little bend here at the top, and so you can do some bumps and different things with that. So in the future I'll do more with this, but I'm always looking for products that you can use in more than one way. And even in straight lines, you can use them in so many different ways. So it's definitely a product that I encourage you, if you're doing any kind of ruler work or straight line work, stitch in a ditch, even echoing, this is your go-to. So I hope this was inspiring. Again, I will be there today at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on our Facebook page for our live Q&A. Hope you'll join us there. And I'll be here tomorrow for day 4. And day 4 includes, I always have to think, give me just a second, stencils. We're going to dip into stencils. Now, the first video I always do, like I did demonstrating how to find out a low shank, high shank, your ruler foot, what it might look like, how to use it, how to find distance. It took a little longer today, right? Next week, I'm not going to cover those things. We're going to jump right in with another ruler. Tomorrow, again, I will demonstrate why I use the rulers I do, and talk about, or not the rulers, the stencils, and talk about why I really, really, really love stencils. And I think they are such an asset to a beginner quilter. We'll talk about that, and I'll talk about the product or the manufacturer that I buy my stencils through, and why I love them to death. So it'll be a little bit longer, but we're going to start with stencils tomorrow. I'm so looking forward to it. Super excited. See you tomorrow at 11 a.m. right back here for a new video. I hope to see you at 3 p.m. today for our Facebook Live Q&A. But until next time, guys, may y'all continue to be inspired, productive, and ever so joyful. Never stop believing, and never stop trying to make your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy quilting.